Forces by Anushka and Mahnoor. Contents. Introduction, different forces, forces on an airplane, forces on a car.
A force is basically any type of power that causes an object to change in speed, change in direction, or change in shape. That means that it will cause an object with a mass to change its velocity, it will make an object accelerate, and it will cause a flexible object to change its appearance and shape. There are several different types of forces. There's gravity, and there's the reaction force, which stops us from sinking into the ground towards the center of the earth. Then there's the different types of friction. There's upthrust, there's drag, and there's air resistance. All of these forces cause objects to reduce the speed at which they are moving. These forces will be explained in the next segment, where Anushka talks about them being applied to vehicles. That is a basic overview of what a force is and what its job is. Forces are used in everyday life without us even realizing it. There are actually several other categories of forces that exist in the world other than the ones I've stated. So there is conservative forces, non-conservative, non-fundamental forces, nuclear forces, electromagnetic forces, tension forces, etc. Forces are measured in newtons. The force of gravity of Earth equals 9.8 newtons.
Forces on different objects. Forces on an airplane. There are 4 forces acting on an airplane in flight. Lift, gravity, thrust, and drag. Lift and drag are considered aerodynamic forces because they exist due to the movement of the aircraft through the air. The gravity pulls down on the plane, opposing the lift created by air flowing over the wing. These two forces balance each other out. Thrust is generated by the propeller and opposes drag caused by air resistance to the frontal area of the airplane. During takeoff, thrust must overcome drag and lift must overcome the gravity before the airplane can become airborne. In level flight at constant speed, thrust exactly equals drag and lift exactly equals the weight or gravity force. For landing, thrust must be reduced below the level of drag and lift below the level of the gravity force or weight. Forces on a car. The forces acting on a car are thrust, air resistance, gravity, and friction. Drag is the force of air resistance pushing against the front of the car while it's moving. Thrust is the force pushing the car forward. Thrust comes from the engine turning the wheels. Tires on the wheels push backwards against the road as they try to turn, causing an equal and opposite force which pushes the car forward. The tires must have good grip, high friction so that they do not slip on the road surface. If the forces of thrust and drag are equal, then the forces are balanced and the car will move with constant velocity. If the forces of thrust and drag are not equal, then the forces are unbalanced and the car will accelerate. It will get faster if thrust is bigger than drag and slower if drag is bigger than thrust.